Good morning and welcome to my living room. This is the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. Knitting for now, maybe other fiber events for later. Today is Thursday, September 14th, 2023, and because it's Thursday, we will do a Throwback Thursday episode. It's kind of fun. I hope to do more of them because I have a lot of old stuff to share with you. It's great. The past few weeks, I first want to say thank you to everyone who watched the episode 1 of this podcast and gave me some good feedback. And I was really excited when I got a subscriber who wasn't someone that I had twisted their arm to watch and subscribe. That was exciting. So it gave me the confidence to carry on and, find people out there that might like to hear this and be inspired. I hope be inspired by this. That's a goal. Because I get so inspired by some of the things that I see and watch online as far as creativity goes. And creativity is also a theme of Throwback Thursday today. So before I get into the sweaters, I will also say that this is the Live and Learn podcast, and since the last episode, I have done a little living, not a whole lot, but kind of social for introverted me. I went to Platteville, Wisconsin, to meet up with my friend Sally. She is down further downriver in Iowa. And so Platteville is about our halfway point. She drives to the northeast, I drive to the southeast. We meet there for a day, have lunch, go thrift shopping, do a lot of fun things together, chat, catch up. And I gave her the baby sweater that I showed in the last episode for her grandbaby to be, and that was very well received. And the baby isn't here yet, but by the end of the month, I believe she's due to arrive. So, and that sweater is actually bigger than a newborn size. I think it was about a 12-month size. So it might be a while before she's in it and we can get a photo to share, but I think it'll be a good fit for the new baby. So I did that. I went to a retirement party for a former coworker and got to see a lot of my other former coworkers who have, most of them also all retired now. There's only a few still working from my era, but that was a very nice picnic that we had, and good to catch up with people and see what everybody's up to and how what they're all doing. And I made Mary, when I retired, Mary had made me a beautiful stained glass hanging of two or three cats looking off into the sunset over the bluffs. There are a lot of bluffs around here where we live, in the river. So I have it hanging, and in between I have in my spare room, office room, there's actually a window that looks out into the addition that was put on this house in the 70s. So the window is still there, and the wall hanging, the stained glass hanging, it's a perfect place for that because it catches the light coming in from the other room, and I can see it from 2 different rooms then. So so Mary made that for me. So for her retirement gift, I made her a felted or full boiled wool type of a knitted bag. And that was huge. I should have stopped knitting maybe a little sooner, but I knew that it would shrink in length, not so much in width. And I think I got it. I'm sorry I didn't get any photos of it or, do an episode on it. That would have been kind of difficult in the progress stages to do. But I believe I took measurements and I managed to shrink it down 18 to 22 inches in length, and it was still quite long, quite big. Nice and dense, though, when it got done. I mean, I tried, and the last time that I shrunk it, it maybe budged a half an inch. So I think it was pretty much at its limit as far as how much it was going to shrink. So basically, she could take that bag to the apple orchard and fill it with apples, or go on a paper route and take papers. But Mary's a creative person, and she does a lot of activities. I think she does some quilting, so it might be a good project bag for one of her endeavors. I'm hoping she sent a thank you card already, so I think she likes it. So that was good. So I did that, and then also last Saturday, a friend and I participated in an annual local walk for breast cancer, and that was a very nice day to be out for a walk. It was 5 miles. We had a nice morning to do it, and then we went and had lunch together and got a chance to catch up, and that was fun as well. So that was all the living that's gone on here for the last few weeks. And of course, there's always learning, good learning and bad learning, and we learn from our mistakes, we learn from our successes. It's all good. So on to Throwback Thursday. First of all, what I'm wearing is quite a throwback. This is, and I'll stand up a bit and show you, this is a top-down raglan pullover from knit late 80s, early 90s. Hard to say exactly, because back then we didn't have Ravelry to keep us on track as well. And I do have kept notes on some things, but sometimes when I'd finish a project, I'd just toss the notes. I didn't think they were really worth hanging on to, or made a lot of hash marks in a magazine, and yeah. So, but this, I'm sorry, no notes, no written notes. Hard to remember if I followed a pattern or if I improvised. It's possible, being a top-down raglan, that this was made after I read the book The Sweater Workshop by Jacqueline Fee, which is a great resource if you're wanting to learn knitting. Now, nowadays, there are all kinds of top-down sweaters and, in the round construction and everything. Back in the 80s, when I was first learning, most of the patterns were knit back and forth in pieces and seam it together, which isn't bad, and I'll show you one of those next. But this is a way that I wanted to start making my own sweaters. That's why I think it's something I possibly made using Jackie Fee's book and also Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage system. I had to really study it to see if it was top down or bottom up. It is a top down raglan. What I really like is this little detail on the hem, which is it's knit 3, well, it's knit 1 round and then knit 3, purl 3 for a round. So it does this garter and stockinette rib. I think that's kind of attractive. And it's on the cuffs as well and on the neckline. So a top-down raglan, and why I'm not sure, I'll show you the armpit, and it's not the best seeming little glitch right there, but this is a very deep armhole, because it can go right up to there on me, so it's quite deep. And I see here I did something that looks like a little bit of grafting before I started working in the round to work down the sleeve decreases. And I don't remember that I had known grafting when I knit this sweater. So I'm kind of, in the dark about how or why did I do that? I looked in the inside. It's not a 3 needle bind off, or, so it is some sort of a grafting, which surprises me. Anyway, this is Bernat. This is old. This is made out of Bernat Gloucester cotton. And look, I still have some more. This is up in the stash. I pulled this, went upstairs and did a stash dive and pulled out the original yarn that I used for this sweater, which I really, really love. And of course, this is long time ago, not available anymore. I'm not sure if there is a modern equivalent of this yarn. And I wanted to show you, it's 100% cotton. And it's actually a 4-ply, and I think you can maybe see that each ply is actually a 2-ply yarn. So it's a 2-ply yarn, 4 plies of that, then plied together, and it makes a lovely, lovely cabled yarn. Very bright, lightweight, airy for cotton. It's not heavy. Not heavy at all. It's very comfortable to wear. This is like a favorite sweatshirt kind of feel to it. And, loose. One thing, I don't remember what size I was when I designed this, when I made this, if it was a design rather than a followed a pattern. But yeah, today I would probably have even less underarm. It doesn't bother me so much for this sweater, but other sweaters it could. And it's also, it's a bit short on me. It's a bit cropped. I would really like sweaters sometimes that maybe like this much longer to kind of go down over this part of my underneath. But for this, actually for this outfit, it kind of works good. This is a high-waisted pair of pants, and there are pants. It looks long, skirty. That's why I like it, because it kind of does dual duty. This is something I picked up at the thrift store. And here's another little tip. I picked this up at the thrift store because I really liked it. Brought it home. It was too big, really. So all I did, and all you sewers know these little tricks, but I just took and put a little pleat right here, which almost gives it a faux fly front, because the rest of this was just a flat part of the front, and then it's got elastic here around the rest of the waist. So I can wear this high-waisted, wear my cropped sweater, and cropped sweaters are such a popular thing these days, but I can wear that, and it works with the, if you want to call this an outfit, it works for this. And as far as outfits go, my motto these days is wear what makes you happy. And this really makes me happy. Comfortable, fun pants. They're a rayon blend. And then this nice cotton sweater. And it's finally sweater weather here. It's lovely. The last time I podcast, we had just had 102-degree weather and gotten over that, and now we're 50 degrees cooler this morning. So even to go outside and do a bit of work until it warms up more for the day, I probably would have needed a heavier sweater than this, or heavier pants. So it's nice to be able to put on some of these sweaters. So Bernat Gloucester yarn, and yes, like I say, I'm not sure there's a Taki Cotton Classic, if that's still available, might be, although that's a mercerized cotton, I believe, so that might make it a bit heavier. This is not mercerized, it's very light. Of course, you can still find this on Ravelry in people's stashes, and I shouldn't tell you this because after having this on today, I might want to go on Ravelry and buy some, do some offering for some of the stuff that's still out there available for will trade or sell or trade, because it's a good workhorse type of a yarn. Nice. And yeah, so that's Bernat Gloucester yarn. Bernat's no longer with us. I think it's now part of Peyton's, I believe. Got bought up by them several years ago. So when I was trying to remember if this was a me pattern or a magazine pattern, I went upstairs to look because I thought perhaps it was something from an old issue of Knitting with Simplicity. This is very old. This is the fall 1987 issue. You know what? There are still patterns in this magazine that I want to make. Yeah, some are kind of dated. Some have withstood the test of time. And that's, you know, I've often thought, how much do I keep and how much do I throw away? 40 years of knitting is a long time, and I have a lot of magazines, books, patterns upstairs too, and now on digital. Okay, this is from the 80s. We didn't have a Ravelry. I just kept notes. I would type my own, you know, I think I did have a computer of my own at that point in time, but I just kept typed lists of patterns that I wanted to make, and, you know, little details about them. I did like a little database when we did comma delimited type databases back in the day, before even there was an Excel spreadsheet to use. So it was just all, yeah, it was, gosh, that's a long time ago to remember how computers worked back in the day when they just were starting. So this is an example of one I'd still make today. Just a simple cable down the front. Again, there's kind of a lot of stuff going on in the underarm. Maybe wouldn't make, no, I would not, definitely not make this tight of a waist, but I still like the look of all that's going on here. And if you can see, this was number 521 in my queue. Wow, 521 that many years ago when I was just starting, because I wanted to make everything. I really did. And there's another sweater in the front of this. I think if I can find it here. This one. This is a good one. I actually did make this one. Not out of the wool. No, not out of the yarn it called for, but something similar, a chunky weight wool. And I still have it. I still wear it. So again, that's a nice classic. It's just a basic raglan. I don't remember. Yeah, that was also, see, this was a pattern. Top down seamless raglan. Nice, huh? And I'm sure there's a modern equivalent of this out there today. Or go online and search for Knitting with Simplicity from fall 1987. You know, you might find it somewhere. This cover, I'm not sure what happened to the cover. I taped it back on at one point in time. Well-loved magazine. And this magazine, Knitting, they didn't do any articles, really. It is just basically patterns. Yeah, just basically a pattern magazine. And let's see, how many did they have in this issue? These came out quarterly. 31 patterns quarterly. They had some charts for color work. They had some schematics, you know, so you could see what you were doing, and some tips and things like that. And they also, this is one of the earlier magazines that actually gave credit to the designers of the sweaters. So a lot of times I'd get an issue and I could say, oh, I like this, and I know I like it because it's made by such and such a designer who I like. Nikki Epstein was a contributor a lot. I'm not going to remember some of the other names who contributed, but good patterns, good classic patterns. So I found, so that's a throwback. And if this is going to tie into the idea of being creative, which I want to talk about a little bit too. Also upstairs was this set. I have all 20 volumes of this. I have never made anything out of here. I bought these not too many years ago, actually, thinking, you know, I think I got the whole set of 20 for maybe $5 at some estate sale or flea market or something, and just thought, wow, they've got a lot of good ideas in here. And they do. They have some things that are still, again, still kind of classic ideas. Like, I really like, look at those long johns. That's all knitted. That looks kind of fun and kind of contemporary and still worth making some sort of version of that. So, oh, and here's another. Look at this sweater for a guy. Nice open collar, like that stitch. That's I believe they call that cartridge ribbing or mistake stitch rib. So an easier version of a brioche type thing, but it's not brioche. It's just, you know, one row at a time. This is the kind of thing I like to do better than brioche. And I've also made a sweater using that pattern stitch, not this particular one, but that's also a comfy sweater. So there are still some things in here that could be inspirational for, you know, they look dated because of either the yarns they used or the colors they used, but, you know, retro, throwback, make this in a contemporary yarn. That would be kind of fun for a kid. So now I brought these down because I thought, well, I've never looked at them, almost never looked at them. I've never used them. They take up space. Maybe I should take them to the thrift store. And there's more in here than sewing, or than knitting. There's sewing, there's crochet, there's quilting, there's embroidery, which I do, all those things. Oh, look, there's a nice coat. I can't imagine making this nice coat out of this book because, you know, the patterns, that's the pattern, teeny tiny, and you're going to go and figure out how to enlarge that to make a sewing pattern. That's a lot of work, but inspirational. So now I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look through, and what I might do, what I've been doing a lot lately is making PDFs, taking photos of the things that I like, and saving those. And of course, then I don't do anything with them either, because if I was up to 521 knitting patterns in the 80s, can you imagine how big my to-do list is now? It's big. It's too big. So, yeah, but inspirational. So here is the sweater, and I'm already at 20 minutes, so I gotta keep going. I want to keep these kind of short, these episodes. This is, as a new knitter, yeah, let's learn to knit. The first thing I made was an eyeglass case. The next thing I made was a little garter stitch popover type of a sweater, sleeveless. And then let's jump in at the deep end and knit an argyle sweater. Back and forth in pieces, which was good for the argyle, the Intarsia of doing that. And, you know, seam it together, and I really was lousy at sewing seams. I just did whip stitch. I didn't know mattress stitch. Couldn't understand. I don't know if I tried mattress stitch. I just tried whip stitching. Ooh, it was bad. But I made an argyle for myself. I had a friend in college who really liked it, so I made one for her. And then, so I had 2 sweaters under my belt. And I thought, well, all right, I'm ready to start designing. Isn't that a good idea? So I took, and I went upstairs also to look for that first argyle sweater pattern I made. It was from Unger, and I used Unger yarn for it as well. I didn't find it. Yeah, surprise. I guess I must have made that sweater a couple times and said, okay, I'm done, and got rid of it. But I used that sweater. I'm not sure if I used the numbers or what, but I took a chart. I had bought a bunch of yarn that was on sale, different colors. So I, it's also cotton yarn. And I made a chart of diamonds, and I came up with this lovely sweater, cotton sweater. Yeah, so took the argyle, and just decided all over color. This is sort of a harlequin type sweater from the 80s. And it sits in the drawer. I actually wore it last summer or last fall, we went out on the river. A friend took our knitting group out on the river on their pontoon boat. And I thought, well, I'm going to wear it was Thursday also. I'm going to wear my Throwback Thursday sweater. Boy, we have a group photo of us and everybody else is sort of in, muted colors. And here's me in my sweater, in my bright diamonds. Yeah. But I hate to say it, I still like it. I think for wearing around the house, it's kind of fun. But there are so many things that I didn't know then what I know now. Like even this, see in the cuff there, see that blip? I took my yarn from this argyle, this diamond, and put it down there. Why didn't I run that end up into here? Because I didn't know any better. I did it all over the cuff of this sweater. Yeah, ran those ends down into that. So you get blips of color where you really shouldn't have blips of color. What else? You can kind of see some of my bad just whip stitch these seams together, and again, this was also before I learned how to do that, add a selvage stitch at the edge so that you have something extra to sew into. And I should have learned mattress stitch, and I didn't know it. So really, I mean, again, what do they say? Can you tell this from a galloping horse? Maybe you could on some of this, but not really. Not really. You could see this would be a good sweater for a jockey, wouldn't it? How they have all the bright racing silks. Yeah. This was Peyton's cotton pearl or pearl cotton. It is basically just a pearl cotton yarn. It's held up, so it's mercerized. And like I say, I bought the red intentionally after I picked up all of these single balls, and this was actually a yarn that came on a cardboard tube, like crochet cord sometimes does. So after I bought these single colors that were on sale individually, I thought, well, now I need a background color, a bunch. So I got, 5 or 10 balls of red and use the background. And then really in this color design, that dark blue, if that had been a lighter shade of blue, I think it would be a little more harmonious. That you can see, obviously, that really stands out. So hindsight on that, maybe I wouldn't have included that. I think I had a pink. I could have. No, I don't think I had a pink. I would have liked pink, maybe, and had it be all pastels against the bright red background. And this is one of my faults, maybe, is I like all the colors, and sometimes I want to use all the colors, and sometimes that's not the thing to do. And I have learned a little bit better color sense than that. So it's making a statement, that blue, for sure. But fun sweater. I do pull it out and wear it every now and again. This sweater, I would do something like this again. This really reminds me today, a contemporary thing would be, like the Tolsta tee from Crayabea. That is probably very similar, just a nice pullover. And what's the one, I can't think of it right now, but there's another sweatshirty type top-down pullover that is popular. But Tolsta tee, that would be a similar equivalent. So in closing, or in the design process, it was just, well, let's do it. Let's chart out all these diamonds and see how it goes. I really was liking Intarsia at the time that I did this. I haven't done much recently, but boy, in the 80s, I sure did a lot of Intarsia, and it was kind of fun. Some of the spots, there's a bit of a pull right there, but for the most part, and that's probably me, how I sewed the ends together, wove in the end there. I maybe made a mistake doing that, but it looks pretty good, really. I did an Intarsia baby sweater for a friend of mine that had, again, from an issue of Knitting with Simplicity, a different issue than this, had dinosaurs all over it in Intarsia. That was great, and a lot of fun to make, and I might have a picture or two of that somewhere in the archives. One of the things that I wanted to do with this, I like vintage patterns. This was not vintage when I started. It is now. I want to start adding some of these things to Ravelry and updating. And I did a few years ago, and it's just a time thing. But I think that's such a good database, and I like being able to look online for the vintage things and archives and historical type patterns. So that's a project as well for when I'm not knitting. I can be doing some data entry and updating their database, which is huge already. But I want to talk just a little bit about being creative, because what gave me the idea to do this is not knowing any better. Actually, just like, well, maybe I should get some more projects under my belt before I try doing my own thing. Nuh-uh, just go ahead and try it, go ahead and do it. And that's how we learn. That's one way I learned some of my creativity, is to take something I knew and tweak it a little bit. That Argyle sweater, I'd made 2, so I knew the construction of it, and doing the set-in sleeve. This even, sewing a set-in sleeve in Intarsia. Yee! It really turned out much better than it could have. This could have been a real train wreck. Now I hate to do set-in sleeves because of all the sewing and everything. But back then I didn't know any better, so just went ahead and did it. And that's the thing. Take something you've done a couple times and tweak it to be a new inspiration. Here's just a couple more ideas on creativity. In another old book, old now, from 1992, Tightwad Gazette, and there are 3 volumes of this. There's also the complete Tightwad Gazette, which is all 3 volumes in one, plus a little bit more. And these are fun. Some of this information with our financial, current financial situation doesn't apply, but some of it still does. Just the basic how to save money, how to, not the ethics, but the theory behind saving money, spending less than you earn, getting rid of debt, all those kinds of things. Being mindful, very much so, being mindful of what you're buying. But and making do, making old things new, recycling, reusing. That's all things that hit home with me. So in one of her, and this used to be a newsletter before it became a book. It was a monthly newsletter that was sent out, which I have all of. I subscribed to it for a long time. Then I think I still have those somewhere. Bought the books. But she has an essay in here, how to be more creative. And that's, sometimes I do get the same question. How do you come up with all these ideas? Well, You just take something and tweak it a little bit. That's one way. And she's got some steps to be a more creative person, and she has 10. And they're good. It's good advice what she has in here. So you could find this book thrift stores, at your local library, maybe it's any of the online used booksellers, eBay. You can find these books around. This was good, and there's a lot more good information in here. Besides that, there's some recipes for some things that are basic staples, how to like how to take a basic casserole recipe, and what does that involve. Or I think there was one episode on article on build a better muffin. What's the basic of a muffin? Your flour, your add-ins, your toppings, I think she had. So change the flour, change the add-in, change the topping. Maybe not change all three at once, but change one at a time based on what you have on hand. It works. If it doesn't work, you can also then morph it into something that does work. So that's one idea of being creative. One way. After the retirement party that I went to a week or so ago, I stopped at the local Minnesota Marine Art Museum, and they had a really nice exhibit on a ceramic artist did coral reef type display, and they were huge and they swirled around. They were just beautiful. I took some photos, and what I really liked about the exhibit was they also had framed her design ideas and her sketches and how she implemented what she saw in her head, and she how she put it out on paper, and then you could see the finished project on the wall. And yeah, they were enormous, and I can't imagine how long it must have taken her to make all of these tiny pieces and put them together in this exhibit. And they even had one that was up on the wall, and then it sort of dribbled down onto the floor. It was very cool. So going to museums, even if it's not related to, this wasn't at all related to knitting, but it was very creative. And so it gave me a lot of ideas just on, how to be creative, how to go home and play with color a bit, because her designs were very colorful. And I thought, how can we take this spiral and turn that into something knitted? Because it was so interesting and textural. And it could be a textural design in knitting or in tapestry weaving. That would have been really cool. I haven't started tapestry weaving. It's one of the things I want to do. It's up here. I'm thinking about it. So, but in their gift shop at the museum, I did pick up this little box, and I thought, oh, do I really need this? Can't I think of this on my own? Yeah, I could. I probably could. Do I? Not really. What this is a little, and they had several of these. I can't remember now what the other topics were. You could probably look that up online. But what it is a box of matches, if you will. They're pieces, I'm not going to get one out, pieces of, card. So they're little matches with little creative ideas on them. So I thought, well, and it's 50 ways to ignite bright ideas. I thought, if I get stuck, I could open my little matchbox and pull something out. Or if just to kind of do exercises in creativity, that these would be good. So here's like an example of what's on here. This one says, make one new thing, not perfect, just complete, each day for a week. I like that idea, because sometimes we get so bogged down in big projects that, and we get bogged down because it's the same thing day after day, and it's just very repetitive. And if it's, we're not necessarily challenging ourselves, because, and not that, big projects are great. I've got plenty of them. But it maybe doesn't challenge us as much creatively once we get going on it. It can. But anyway, one new thing, so it doesn't have to be big and it doesn't have to be perfect. And it doesn't always have to be the same. But make a thing and complete it each day for a week. I like that one. Here's another one. This is a good one for today, for Throwback Thursday. Use yourself as a muse and let old creations inspire you. And if that's not Throwback Thursday, I don't know what is. So yeah, I pulled, these couple of sweaters out of the drawer, and this does inspire me because it's so basic, it's so comfortable. It's where I'm at right now to wear something like this, and I'd be very happy making another one. Actually, I have something very similar that I started last summer, and I was really worried I was going to run out of yarn, and I haven't run out of yarn because I haven't finished it. So maybe I need to just get that one finished and see where I'm at with it. I might be better off than I realize. And I also did contact someone on Ravelry who had the same yarn. It's an older yarn. And she was going to see if she still had it. I could get back in touch with her. But anyway, it stalled. And wearing this today kind of inspires me to go pick that project up and finish it. So maybe you'll see that as a finished object in the near future. I think that is plenty for now. This is about 40 minutes. And well, there was not much technique. I'd like to show technique in the future in some of the podcasts so that, if there's something specific to learn, to demonstrate, we could do that. Figuring out the camera process of how to do that is a little challenging. And that's another thing I need to learn. I also need to learn, like, where do I look here when I talk at this camera? I know I'm looking off that direction, it seems like. But I'm learning that too. See how I learned, though, from last week to turn the camera sideways? Isn't that cool? I hope this works when I upload it. Actually, looking at last time's episode on my phone was perfect, but not so much on the TV or on the computer screen. So always learning something new. And everything I learned just seems to inspire me to want to do more. And I hope it inspires you as well. I hope you have a great weekend. This is Thursday. Thursday to me, now that I'm retired, always feels like the start of the weekend. I do a yoga class in the morning, and then after that, I feel like it's time to start the weekend. But it's going to be nice weather all weekend. We still haven't had much rain. We could really use some more rain. I don't know if that's coming, but it's kind of the time right now to go out and start taking down some of the plants that are done for the year, and doing some outdoor projects now that the weather's cooled off. So I hope you have a great weekend, great week. I'm not sure when this next podcast will come. 2-3 weeks might be a good time frame for me, just to kind of think of the next idea to share with you, or get something done to share with you. And I'm really sorry that the cats still haven't made an appearance. Some of you asked, well, you said there were cats. We didn't see cats. So there's one right out of camera range. I'm not sure I can show you. He just sat down, on the sofa right there, George. So, he's, usually he's a little more animated this time of day, but now it's his nap time. So maybe next time we'll get more cat action. Who knows? Anyway, thank you very much again for watching. I hope just the conversation today inspires you in whatever you're doing. So take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.